Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford, so grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Welcome to another episode of Just Minding My Business. I hope you had an awesome day. Today we're going to be talking about how violence in a family can be very traumatic and can take years to move through. Coming to the mic today is Corneilius Scott, who was impacted by violence on August 3rd, 2014, when his son was a victim of a handgun assault. His son survived. However, this experience inspired Cornelius' passion, advocacy, and support for families impacted by such tragedy. Well, welcome to the show, Cornelius. I appreciate you coming by.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me in the Sisters Circle.
Wow. Tell us about your journey with what you do.
Well, as you shared, my initiation to this cause came after the assault my son suffered by my son. His injury, and really it inspired me to do something more. I remember standing in the hospital when I got to his particular room, and I saw that he was there and alive. I said to myself, "Thank you, God, and you don't have to tap my shoulder again. Once I get my feet on the ground, I will engage this issue with whatever resource I have."
Yeah, I can't imagine what you were feeling going through that experience. Like most parents who are victims of such a heinous crime today, and it's so prevalent everywhere now. It's like any family, anybody on the earth either has experienced it or knows someone that has.
And the proliferation just seems to be growing. Today, in the field, we with our outreach, we encountered two young ladies, 21 years old, both of whom had the experience of losing. Well, one had lost a brother to homicide and a boyfriend, and the other had lost a father and a boyfriend to homicide. So that's 21-year-olds, and it is just all too common now, and it's something that we as a community have to look in the eyes.
Absolutely. Well, to give you a little bit more background about Corneilius Scott, he's the executive whose vision has shaped the Family Survivor Network. Cornelius has over 25 years of professional training. He was the executive director for Mothers of Murdered Sons and Daughters, and he brought national attention to the organization, including mentions in the Christian Science Monitor, and developed the organization's model for survival support. So, without being said, we definitely know that you are very serious about the mission and very connected to it in more ways than one. So, tell us a little bit about the Family Survivor Network.
Well, this Family Survivor Network really grew out of the experience and the learning that I gained after working for Mothers of Murdered Sons and Daughters United for four plus years. What I learned there in coming to an organization which was principally advocacy when I started was that many of the women who were engaged in advocacy and many of the women who could not grow to advocacy, they shared the commonality of the need for a life lifetime or a lifetime relationship with support. What I know, what I have learned in this space is that the murder, I should say, the murder of a child is a wound that really never heals. It is the type of situation where, you know, what someone feels is they feel they're in a better place today, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the next morning they'll wake up in that same better place. And so the idea with Family Survivor Network, as with moms, was to create a organization that would provide services to support this individual. Initially with moms, it was really focused on women. But now with Family Survivor Network, we are broadening our scope now to offer support services, support healing for families, the complete family. And so that's where we are today.
Okay, so if anybody's listening that has gone through this trauma, what are some of the services that Family Survivor Network offers?
Very good. So we offer peer-to-peer group counseling. We offer individual counseling. We also offer virtual counseling, in addition to some non-traditional healing as acupuncture, massage therapy, and even Reiki. And we're growing now to include some types of athletic, cardio types of activities as well for them. We are now beginning, because we came to this from as a service provider for women, beginning to look at the types of services that we will provide in a broader scope for young people. As I look at what's available out there, there are very few service providers offering, again, this lifelong friend approach for youth who are out there who are suffering under the weight, the burden of their pains and their traumas related to homicide. We are doing some work now. I've been in contact with some folks and really collaborating with some folks from Johns Hopkins and other resources to develop a program specifically targeted for young people.
Yeah, because, you figured if something like this happens, the entire family is affected. The siblings, if they have children of their own, they're affected. Everybody is affected, so therefore everybody needs support. So I'm happy to hear that.
Just to interject, and sort of punctuate that comment. So one of the outreaches we have is a podcast that we call Faithful Fridays, and we do it on Facebook, and we also share it on YouTube. One of this week's guests was an 8-year-old who lost his uncle to a homicide. And we talked, and there were a number of survivors, sister survivors in the room, 5 or 6 of them, and I said to him, well, what did this homicide do to your family from your perspective? I understand he was 5 years old when it happened. And he floored the entire room when he said, it tore my family apart. There was nothing more need be said.
And this is an 8-year-old.
An 8-year-old.
Wow.
Heavy.
Very heavy. And, people out there, guns and shooting people and not trying to resolve issues, other ways, they don't realize, what their action does. They don't even have a clue.
And unfortunately, and you touched it right there, we as a community have a cultural issue that we have to address. It is that we do not privilege the decision making that might improve the outcomes. When I talk to mothers and I'm the child of a black mom, right? And we were told in my household, as in many, if they do something to them, you pick up something and you get them. Those, unfortunately, are the messages that we're communicating, and we have to begin to look introspectively as a community of black and brown folks, and the messages we're sending, the messages we're delivering about how we address conflict, how we address problems, because apparently we're communicating something that is not working well for us right now.
Right, and it's not like back in the day, when our parents told us that, and it was a fist fight, and then
Yes.
you were friends afterwards.
Yes, yes. And so,
God.
yeah, and very lethal weapons. The guns today are far more lethal than the guns, of 10, 20, definitely 30 years ago. The caliber of bullet is they are much more lethal, and they are much more destructive. So as you start talking about, in the old days when somebody might have had a 22, that interaction with a gun might have been one that someone could have survived. But nowadays, with Desert Eagles, and 44 caliber weapons being in such having such wide dispersion, it's an interaction with a handgun right today is just a deadly interaction, and we can talk about the deaths, but there's another group of young individuals whose lives are traumatically changed as a result of gun violence. They live with traumatic injury, and that's a whole nother discussion, of course. But in my work over these last 4 years, that has been another revelation for me when I interact with young people, 17, 18, up to 25, who are in wheelchairs. It's just devastation left behind as a result of poor decision making. But it's there, and there are a lot of dynamics involved in it.
Absolutely. So I heard you talk about decision making, which is a big part of this, because a lot of times, dealing with conflict, I believe it should probably be a subject taught at the elementary school and up. It should probably be part of the conversation in school at every level.
And I'm in total agreement with that. If there's if the schools aren't going to do it, then we as a community have to do it. I've had discussions with folks in community centers and in churches and in community groups, and had these discussions. We just have to build up more capacity. And I've even had discussions with university presidents and said to them, wouldn't it be powerful if each one of our HBCUs, every incoming freshman class had to take some curriculum in mediation or conflict resolution, or how powerful would that be if at the end of every school year our HBCUs were sending home thousands of young people into communities that had this type of training.
It would
Compelling, right?
Yes, it would make a total difference, and it should start, like I believe, it should start from the cradle,
Yes.
pretty much, because
Yes.
as people, you have to keep telling us stuff. We don't
Yes.
always get it the first time. So being able to reiterate that concept over and over and over again will support our young people in living it.
I agree. I mean, and we should do it if for no other reason, but to counter the messages that they are receiving in other places over and over and over. You know, if you listen to radio on any given Friday night, right? You hear any number of songs that will suggest that violence would be the resolution to a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask a young person to recite the lyrics of any one of their favorite songs, any number of those songs will reference violence again as a solution to a conflict. And that's a problem in and of itself. But I mean, without sounding like was her name Dolores P. Tucker, who in the mid 1980s went on a crusade against hip hop and the violent messages of hip hop, and without sounding like her, what I would suggest is that we as a community decide that we're going to counter those messages again by developing and engaging curriculums that would teach different messages.
Absolutely. So before we go any further, if someone is in need of your support, how would they connect with you?
Sure. They can reach us by email at Family Survivor Network, all one word, FAMILYSURVIVORNETWORK @gmail.com. Or they may reach me at 443-653-4908.
Okay, so with somebody coming into your program, can you just give us sort of a little step-by-step process in terms of how you work?
Sure, certainly. The way our process works is that we receive an intake call. We ask for some basic information, name, phone number, email address. We inquire about the date that their child was taken, and then they have to. And then I take that information and I relay it to what we call a sister survivor, and that sister survivor will then reach out directly to that family and make a soft contact and say, hey, I've been through what you've been through. How are you doing? And very often that results in a 2-hour call because the person gets the download with someone who's actually been through what they've been through, who's actually experienced what they've experienced. And that call generally comes, we generally try to get someone in contact, a survivor sister in contact with the individual, within hours, 2 hours, 2 to 8 hours is generally the contact window.
Okay.
And then that is followed up with a call from a licensed clinical social worker. And then that is then followed up with the scheduling, either a scheduled visit to their home, or it is then the opportunity is open for them to schedule their visit to peer-to-peer counseling or individual counseling or virtual counseling, whatever be the need.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because one of the things I wanted to ask you as well, and I think the virtual will probably be able to support this is, that 24-hour coverage, because a lot of times what happens in the midnight hours, people begin to go through stuff.
Yes, yes. But I'll tell you what I have seen happen. What happens is generally once there's a connection with one of our sister survivors, once that connection is made, that is a relationship that facilitates that type of support, even without directions. It just happens. It's organic, and often once they come to a support group, once they go to a peer-to-peer support group, relationships are established that go beyond the call of duty. That turn into someone being, showing up at your doorstep at a call, or someone, taking note that that the next weekend is the remembrance for your child's homicide, or the birthday for the deceased child. And so those types of things happen really organically. It's something powerful and moving to watch. I tell people that God has given me such a beautiful front seat for healing, and I've just been so privileged by the experience.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I would think that would happen because I heard you mention that most of the people that are involved with the network that do the outreach have also been through the same thing. So they kind of,
yes.
They all know what it feels like.
Yes. Mhm. Yes. Yes. There is a process, and we talk about going from pain, passion to purpose, and that is sort of the road that these travelers go along, and we're often referred to the sister survivors as fellow travelers, and that is the road that they embark upon as they go through their process from pain, passion to purpose. And in that purpose space, many of them become supports to the organization.
Mhm. Absolutely. And you have to give back. Somebody help you get through it. You definitely have to help somebody else get through it as well.
But I'd also say, and we become more comfortable even if they choose not to. Some folks, they take it, they get through it, and they go on. And we understand that everyone has a different role. Some folks take it, and they're grateful for the healing they've got, and the blessing is that they can be stronger for their families and for their immediate loved ones. And if that's the case, then that too is pain, passion to purpose.
Yes, absolutely.
A mother that can be more responsive to her to the surviving children, that's a beautiful thing. A father who can be a couple, a husband and wife that can find the space to love each other again and maintain their marriage, that too is a beautiful space for pain, passion to purpose.
Yes, because I'm sure it's all types of situations that happen. For example, maybe the homicide happened with another parent. So getting to that blame thing.
Yeah.
I just can imagine all of the different emotions and issues that crop up when you lose a loved one in that manner.
There are a lot of complexities, and I'll share that we as those tending an organization have had to deal with the organizational stresses that dealing with the survivor community can bring. We have had support groups where someone shows up and one survivor identifies them as someone who was friends with the assailant of their child. It's a small community, and And so, we've learned from that, and now we have, screening measures, and we have other options for therapy beyond the in-person support group. But there was a time where that was the only option, and that was problematic. I mean, we've had the situation where, for example, we're located at 1032 North Fulton Street, Baltimore, Maryland 21217, right in Sandtown. And we have had the incident where a survivor says, "Well, you're in the community right where my child was murdered. I don't want to come there." And so that is why we grew to begin providing at-home counseling and other supports like virtual supports. There are a lot of complexities in dealing in this space.
I can imagine. So one more time, can you please give us your information again so that we can make sure those people that going through this type of trauma or know somebody will be able to connect with you?
Very good. Yes, you can reach Family Survivor Network by emailing Family Survivor Network, all spelled out, FAMILYSURVIVORNETWORK @gmail.com, or simply dialing 443-653-4908. And if you're not local to Baltimore, that's fine. We still have survivor sisters who make phone calls and outreach, and will help you identify if there is any support local to you. We have folks call us from all over the country. We receive calls from California, from Nevada, from St. Louis, from Chicago. New Orleans, major cities across this nation. This homicide, this community violence issue is everywhere.
Yes, it's definitely global, for sure.
Yes.
Definitely global. Now I have one other question. Do you work with the churches?
Very good. So right now, our organization, yes, we do. And we are partnered with Mount Pisgah CME, which is located at 1030 North Fulton Street, right at Fulton and Riggs in Sandtown 21217. And the powerful minister there is a Reverend Patricia DeGraffenreid. They are partners in our outreach, and matter of fact, we have trainings that we do, which is another service we provide. We provide training for the pastoral community in how to work with survivors, what to say, what not to say, and how to interact with them from a secular perspective. You have to understand that in the wake of such a trauma as the murder of a child, some folks aren't too happy with God at that moment.
Right.
And approaching someone strictly from a theological perspective, that door is not always open. Sometimes that is the door that will go, that they're definitely not going to answer. That is the type of approach that is least received, or there's the least reception for. And so, learning some of the other tools that are not reliant on a theological perspective, it helps give more arrows for the quiver of one who is trying to be a support for someone in the wake of such a terrible, disastrous trauma.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that, because a lot of people, you're right.
Yeah.
The last thing they want to hear.
Oh, my. Let me tell you, I have been in a room and where the expletives come out. uh, somebody mentions Jesus at that moment. Oh, I have heard the expletives, and that's normal for some.
Mm-hmm.
That is normal for some. And having compassion for that person in that space is what is required at that time for many.
Yes, indeed. Well, I am so grateful that you said yes, because this information is very, very important because of the world that we live in today.
Yes.
Having somewhere where you can be supported if you're going through this type of trauma and not feeling.
It's a critical need.
Yes, it's definitely a critical need.
And no judgment. The judgment piece is, and that's another, the fallacy, the big fallacy, and what we talk about sometimes is the big lie. The big lies, and many folks, many survivors will respond to this question, what is the big lie, in different ways. But the big lie can be, for example, that my child was involved in illicit activity. That's one of the big lies. Another big lie, that child did not come from a family that loved them. Or another big lie, that my child deserved what they got. Those are some of the stigmas that survivors suffer through.
Yeah.
Particularly in our community. I've heard folks say, where was he or she murdered? and those are the questions that lead to, they were where they weren't supposed to be. That's it.
They're looking for a reason. Why?
Looking for that reason, and that those types of questions, that type of inquiry, those types of questions, they really lend themselves to alienation and towards the rejection of someone at a very, very at a time where someone is in a very tough, very, very hurt space, and those things are not things that we'd recommend one say. One of the things we see, if you're going to say anything, another one is to say, I understand. And I'll share with you a response that I once heard, to someone even saying something as simple as, well, they're in a better place now. And I heard
that one.
and let me tell you, this survivor turned to that woman and said, well, when are you sending yours?
Right, exactly. Nobody wants to hear that, for sure.
No.
And, I like that you pointed out the lies, because now we know that it doesn't matter where you are.
No.
The schools, the church, the movie theater, Walmart. It's happening everywhere.
Yes.
At any given time.
Yes. Yes. And what do you sacrifice by having compassion for a person whose child has been murdered, no matter the case?
Right. Exactly.
What have you sacrificed? What have you sacrificed? What have you given up? All you have done is to take the time to look someone's hurt eye to eye.
Well, Cornelius, I am so grateful that you showed up today, because it is definitely an eye-opener about what your organization is doing. And before we wrap up, I want you to give your information one more time. Certainly.
We can be reached by email at FamilySurvivorNetwork@gmail.com. And that's all spelled out, no spaces. And we may also be reached at the number 443-653-4908. Again, 443-653-4908. 08.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to another conversation with you going forward. And you are definitely an angel sent from
Oh,
God.
bless you.
And we all appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me in the sister circle. It's just been great, wonderful to chat with you.
Absolutely. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you.
This show is brought to you by the amazing women of a Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASIN LLC, where we are never in competition, but always in collaboration. And our valuable sponsors, Prodigy Accounting Service, Next Generation Accounting to get you where you need to be. Contact them at prodigyaCCT1@yahoo.com or online at www.fli-inc.com. Buying real estate can be one of those decisions. Don't experiment with your real estate investment. Contact Realtor Tia Lewis, mad scientist of real estate, creating the perfect formula to solve all of your real estate needs. For a free consultation, call 240-351-0258. Or would you like to know what a Sister Circle Empowerment Network, ASIN LLC, is all about? Contact us today at asistercircle@gmail.com and visit our website at asistercircle.org. That's ASISTAS circle.org. Voiceovers for a Sister Circle Empowerment Network provided by Ruth Haskins, voiceover actor. To fulfill your professional voiceover needs or to receive her current professional demo, contact Ruth at 443-620-4115.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford. We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.